What's going on, guys? Matt with Motorworks here. The car is all done. It's running. That means there's only one thing left to do. A burnout! That's right, guys. We are driving the car, and I gotta say that this thing drives pretty well, honestly. I can't complain. It shifts nice, the engine's nice and smooth, so I must have timed it correctly, and there's not any weird vibrations. So I guess I timed the balance shafts correctly on this, because it's smooth as silk driving down the road. There are a few little things. The shifts are a little bit abrupt, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. It could just indicate that the valves in there, the valving in there's getting stuck a little bit. So it could use probably a good change of the fluid. I could probably do a transmission fluid change, and that might smooth out those shifts. But it's nothing detrimental. It doesn't get hung up or anything weird like that. It's just a little bit of a more abrupt shift. But the car runs good. It smells great in here. I mean, between the air fresheners and just cleaning everything up, it's got, you know, it smells nice and fresh in here, so that's great. I have a few more little odds and ends to do. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but the windows, they all need a good cleaning. They're a little rough. But, I mean, for a 30-year-old car, though, I mean, this car is 1990. For a 30-year-old car, this thing works really well. And there aren't too many things that are non-functioning on here. If I look on the dashboard, the only lights that are actually out is one little light behind the coolant light, the backlight to the coolant, and the D4 for the automatic transmission indicator on the dashboard. Those are the only two lights that are out in this car. And speaking of lights, there's not a single light on the dashboard. The brake light's out, the oil light's out, the check engine light, no battery light, all that stuff is out. Now, you may say the bulbs are burnt out, but I pulled the dashboard, I pulled the instrument cluster, none of the bulbs are burnt out, they all work. The only bulbs that are burnt out are the ones I mentioned. So that's absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm super stoked. I am driving it. I'm gonna take it for a little run around here, and then we'll pull back in, and we'll go over everything I did, and you know, kind of future plans with this car. Actually, we're not back to the house yet. This car is pretty impressive. I mean, for as long as it's sat, you would think that a brake would be locked up or something weird like that. Literally, when I tell you this thing runs and drives almost as good as new, the tires are a little bit unbalanced. But besides that, I mean, this thing just is unbelievable at that. The brakes don't shimmy or shake when you apply them. There's no wheel bearings that are noisy. You know, just the little stuff you would think from sitting so long that would be an issue, but literally there's no issues with this car. It's just amazing to me. It really is. But that was just kind of that little thing I wanted to put in there. And another thing, these old Hondas, it doesn't matter what Honda you drive, whether it's a Honda or Acura, these things make you feel like you're in a race car. The suspension, it just feels dialed in. There's not, you know, a tremendous amount of body roll. I mean, there's some, don't get me wrong. It's not a race car by any means, but just the suspension on this still feels tight. I mean, it's got 183,000 miles, and the suspension still feels tight. You know, it's not plush, but it absorbs the bumps. There's no crazy rattles or creaks. The dashboard's not rattling. Nothing is making any sort of noise in here, which is incredible. So, yeah, in addition to the engine and everything, you know, being on point and working just fine, everything else also is nice. So that's another thing that really impresses me with this car. Alrighty guys, so we're back from the test ride, and you can hear it. Pop the hood here for you real quick. The engine is pretty quiet. I mean, it's got a little bit of noise, but again, 183,000 miles, and it just runs butter smooth. It's not super loud or obnoxious. It hasn't burned any oil. I put about 300 miles on this car so far, and this thing hasn't used any oil. It still looks clean, and it's still right where I topped it up on the dipstick. Also hasn't used any coolant since I fixed the radiator and replaced that. It did have a small coolant leak. It was leaking coolant back here. And you can see this new clamp I put on there, and new hose. This hose had a little pinhole in it, and I don't think that was the car's fault. I think just from previous owner putting the new head gasket or new cylinder head on it, might have just bumped that hose when they were moving everything around. But other than that, this thing has been trouble-free. I've almost run a tank of fuel through it since I got it. But yeah, it's great. The only thing we had to do again, like I said, was that alternator. We just got that rebuilt. We didn't do anything crazy. I just took it somewhere and got it rebuilt. And the new radiator. Everything else is just how I got the car. I mean, yes, I had to get a battery, but again, that battery was super old, so I don't even consider that anything. But everything is pretty much as I got it. Literally just had to put it back together. All right, one other cool thing I did right here. Hopefully I can catch it on camera. Let me turn the radio off. Right here. Oh yeah, the power antenna works. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt to get that power antenna on. Of course, I watched the video and I learned the right way to do it. All right, off. All right, now off. Oh, wait. That's not how you turn the car off.
It's different with your left hand.
What? But once it's on, it actually works. You turn the radio back on. That's pretty cool. 30 years old, and the only thing that was wrong with it is the antenna itself was broken. There's a plastic cord that goes down into the motor down here, and that plastic cord was broken. Antenna is just the part that retracts the antenna. Get this crap out of there. Well, that went flying. So I'm set up over there. It came all the way over here. Here it is. Dude, that thing got launched out of there. I might throw a little video together on that one. That one was a struggle to get that in, to say the least. I had to do that. Had to take that motor apart several times to get it just right. Let's just say it wasn't one of my best moments. I tried to do a how-to video on it, but that was kind of a how-to fail video, really. But we'll turn the car off here. Actually, you can listen to the speakers real quick. Not bad. I mean, speakers in this don't sound bad at all. The doors, again, like I said, they came out good, so they look nice. The interior is nice and good shape. See, last time I had the video, I did have to do the radiator, so that is new. I did have a buddy of mine, Carl, give me a radiator, but I wasn't able to use it because all the bolts kind of broke off in the mounts, and I needed mounts to mount my fans on, so I wasn't going to mount it with 1 or 2 bolts, because that's the last thing I need is a fan breaking off and causing all kinds of chaos. So I did get a new radiator, and I did have the alternator rebuilt, as I said. The other thing I did was I went to my boy Scotty's shop, and we got this wheel off here. We got the new one that went on here, and while I had this off, I looked in, and The brakes, they look good. They aren't leaking at the slave cylinder there. Both sides look good. So the rear brakes are in good shape. They work. Again, they're not getting super hot. They're not locking up. They work good. They held it okay, adequately for my burnout. The front brakes, I can touch the wheel after I'm done driving it and using the brakes. They're not hot. Come over to this side again, I'll show you. So the brakes are working, which is amazing. They're not warped. It's also amazing. One other thing that I did, we got the car inspected. So it's gonna be a nice little cruiser. Now the future of the car, at least for now, the only thing I plan on doing is just driving the car. Honestly guys, it runs, it drives. I do have snow tires on these wheels here. So I just plan on driving it. If we get snow, then I'm not worried about it. I'm not trying to make it through the snow in a 400 horsepower car. You know, this one here is going to be a better candidate for that. But yeah, the only other thing left to do on this car is give it a really good detail and paint the bumpers. So as you see, I do have the bumper on, but this bumper is in rough shape. So that is the bumper that was on the car. The fenders look like, it looks like this car backed out and the front bumper caught on something and it kind of pulled it up. Because if you look here, it looks like this bumper was backed up, like somebody backed the car up and hooked something under the front of it, and it kind of pulled the bumper out this way. It kind of pulled down and bent all this stuff in here. As you can see, just poor alignment issues here. It's secure, it's not going anywhere, but yeah, it looks like it was pulled out when somebody backed out. It's over here, you know, nothing's lined up. So I'm gonna paint the other bumper I got, and I'm going to try and make all that stuff fit better. But for now, it's on there. It looks okay. It gets the job done. I'm not too worried about it, again, because it's winter time. So yeah, I'm not going to stress that too much. Now, I do pose a question on this car. Should I just leave this car stock the way it is and just make it look a lot better, you know, cleaning it up? Or should I put this H22 out of this Prelude in the Accord? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This engine's coming out regardless because this car is getting scrapped, but that came with 125 horsepower. This is 200 horsepower. Actually, it dynoed at 190 horsepower to the tire in this car. So should we upgrade this car with this H22, or should we give a cam and a set of heads to the Chrysler 300? You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Potentially a 200 horsepower car, or potentially an almost 500 horsepower car. I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet, but there is a build I want to do coming soon, and I don't know which one to build, so I'll let you guys decide that. I'm super thrilled that this thing is running, driving, and everything. You know, it's actually more than I expected when I first purchased this. So this car was a gamble. It was a cheap price. It was in pieces when I got it. I wasn't sure if it was going to run. I wasn't sure, you know, anything about this car. This could have turned out to be a disaster and a huge waste of money that I inevitably would have just ended up scrapping, but it's far exceeded my expectations, and you know, this is just going to be a great car to drive around for now until I decide to do something else to it. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I wouldn't have been able to do anything to this vehicle if it wasn't for you, the subscribers out there watching the videos. So first and foremost, thank you so much for checking the videos out. It helps me out, it helps the channel grow, and you know, sky's the limit from here. You know, I've got 2 vehicles, 2 potential projects, but that's gonna do it for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Matt, this is Motorworks. Thanks for checking it out.